Today on the Inside Scoop, we saw two major QB dominoes fall. It was Auburn's turn to host a big visit weekend, but first, you know where we're starting. Columbus, Ohio with the Ohio State Buckeyes. Just 5 months ago, Dylan Raiola decommitted from Ohio State. He was the #1 QB in the country, and when Raiola reopened his recruitment, Ohio State didn't panic. Actually, they did the opposite. They took a very measured approach to filling their need at the quarterback position. Ohio State offered Julian Sayin. They offered Ryan Puglisi shortly after the decommitment, but they didn't offer Aaron Noland right away. Now, they recruited him as if he had an offer. In the business, we call that keeping somebody warm, and it worked. The staff waited until Aaron Noland was ready to make his visit to campus, which happened last Sunday. He was offered while he was there. Now, that didn't end his recruitment. Aaron Noland still went on to take a visit to Alabama the following day. But 5 days later, on April 8th, he made his decision, announcing for Ohio State over programs like Clemson, like Miami, Alabama, Arkansas, and Texas A&M. Let's bring on recruiting analyst Sam Spiegelman to talk a little bit more about Aaron Noland's commitment. Sam, why was Noland such a good fit for Ohio State?
We're in a weird recruiting class where half of the country's best quarterbacks are already off the board. We're looking at the top 20 quarterbacks in the country, and with Aaron Noland, there's only a few left, and Ohio State able to go from Dylan Raiola to Aaron Noland. That's impressive for their quarterback recruiting pipeline, but he's an excellent fit for Ohio State. You know, look at the skill players that Ryan Day and Brian Hartline have been producing over the last couple of cycles, and these are first-round picks, multiple first-round picks at the skill player positions, and Aaron Noland might be the best point guard style quarterback in the 2024 class.
All right, let's compare Aaron Noland to Dylan Raiola. But first, Ohio State fans, do me a favor, like this video and subscribe to the On3 YouTube page. When it comes to Buckeye recruiting, nobody has you covered like us. Smash that subscribe button for me. All right, so here's the tale of the tape when it comes to Dylan Raiola and Aaron Noland, both right at 6'3". Now, Raiola has a big advantage when it comes to mass weighing 225 compared to 185 for Noland, but you trade some of that size for the athleticism that Aaron Noland brings. Raiola is a 5-star, Noland's a 4-star, but when we dig a little bit deeper here, you see On3 ranks Raiola as the #1 overall QB, and Noland is the #4 overall QB. So really, we're splitting hairs here. Here's what Director of Scouting and Rankings Charles Power told me about what he likes about Aaron Noland. You know, he likes that he's a proven passer heading into his senior year. Charles says that he is significantly more productive than Dylan Raiola as a junior, and we definitely saw that. Here's some of Aaron Noland's strengths: proven winner, mobility outside the pocket, accuracy, and reading through progressions. Now, reading through progressions can help you with some of that accuracy. Sam, how did Ohio State upgrade their class with the addition of Aaron Noland?
Get ready for some backwards math. They went from the #1 quarterback in the country to the #4 quarterback in the country, but look at what he brought to Ohio State. Ohio State is rounding into shape. It's the middle of April, and they have their quarterback of the future. They have 2 of their stud receivers on the outside ready to go. They have their fantastic blue chip running back, James Peoples, and they're continuing to find momentum on the recruiting trail. So, yeah, they might not have Dylan Raiola, but this foundation that Ohio State is bringing in for their 2024 class is starting to look like a very bright future, especially on the offensive side of the ball in Columbus.
Yeah, and to Charles Power's point, I mean, Aaron Noland is one of the most proven passers at the high school level. When we say proven passer, what do we mean? We mean 73% completion percentage. We mean leading his Langston Hughes high school team to an undefeated season as a junior, winning a state championship, proving at that level, at a high level of competition in Georgia, that he's one of the best passers in America. And that's what he means by Ohio State getting a proven quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, look at some of those numbers, and you want to know if they translate. 73% completion percentage, 55 touchdowns compared to 4 interceptions. What does that tell you? That Air is extremely accurate. He's efficient. He's smart. He doesn't rush the football. He's careful with the football, and he makes smart decisions. He also, what we see on tape, the first play of his tape, is he is slinging it downfield against a talented 6A Georgia defense. He knows when to be a playmaker. He knows when to be a good decision maker. When you fit him into the Ohio State offense, you see a lot of explosiveness, but you also see, that go-to performer in clutch moments, given how much he's won on a big stage already at the high school level.
55 touchdowns to 4 interceptions last season. That's a heck of a stat. All right. Noland was commitment number 9 for Ohio State, who is currently ranked number 3 behind UGA and Alabama. Look, Ohio State has a heck of a class now. Whether you rank them 1, whether you rank them 3, it doesn't really matter this early. But what does matter is Ohio State's recruiting momentum, and right now they are on fire. Now, look at what they've done in the last 2 weeks. Mylan Graham committed to Ohio State April 4. James People just 2 days prior to that on April 2nd. They get QB Air Noland over the weekend. The Anderson twins, pair of 4-star offensive tackles, committed to Ohio State on March 27. Now, I know what Ohio State fans are thinking right now. It's the commit list is a little lopsided, right? Only one defensive commitment, and that comes from 4-star linebacker Garrett Stover. But momentum is building. Don't worry, you message board posters. I told you, I read the message boards. I see people actually complaining right now about Ohio State recruiting. And I know the defense struggled a little bit last year, but they're concerned over whether Ohio State is going to make the same splash when it comes to recruiting the defensive side of the board. It's coming. Here's some big names on Ohio State's defensive side of the board. 5-star edge Dylan Stewart, the number 1 overall prospect in America. 5-star defensive lineman Justin Scott, the 11th best player overall. 2 corners that we talk about a lot on the Inside Scoop, Bryce West, Aaron Scott, along with linebacker Peyton Pierce and edge Booker Pickett. All right, let's start at the top of this list. You got the number 1 overall player, and Ohio State leads on the recruiting prediction machine. 45% to Alabama's 39%. It's real early in this recruitment. Dylan Stewart visited Ohio State 2 weeks ago. He's made several visits since. He was at Penn State this weekend, UGA the weekend before. He's going to be all over the place, but guess what? He's also going to be back in Columbus. Chad Simmons, expert here at On3, put his pick in for Ohio State last week. Now let's move on to 5-star defensive line target Justin Scott. Sammy's the number 2 ranked defensive lineman in America, the 11th best player overall out of St. Ignatius in Chicago. Notre Dame leads on the RPM, but are you giving Ohio State a chance for Justin Scott?
The way that they're recruiting, you obviously can't count out Ohio State, but this has felt like Notre Dame's race to lose. But Ohio State is still kicking it, still in the mix, not rolling them out yet with Larry Johnson in the way.
All right, Bryce West and Aaron Scott, we can lump these two together. We have been for the last couple of weeks when we talk about Ohio State recruiting. The Buckeyes are trending over 90% for both of these guys. Sam, I went ahead and lobbed a pick in for Bryce West. I'm still holding off on Aaron Scott. Have you put predictions in on both of them?
Not yet, but I'm not far behind. The way that Ohio State's momentum is, it's very real right now. And like you said, it might be coming on that defensive side of the ball pretty soon.
All right, another prospect that both of us have now put predictions on is 4-star linebacker Peyton Pierce out of Texas. You've seen him a good bit in person. Now, if the Buckeyes land him, what are they getting in Pierce?
When you think about what you want from your inside linebacker at the college level, you love the tenacity and the passion that Peyton Pierce brings to the second level of your defense. Ohio State is one of the few schools recruiting Peyton Pierce at a very high level. He was just on campus last month, really connected well with Jim Knowles, Ohio State's defensive coordinator, and James Laurinaitis, who was recruiting him at Notre Dame and is now back at his alma mater at Ohio State. Kind of like you said, we both have RPM picks in for Peyton Pierce to Ohio State, and if and when they land that commitment, that is, talk about the transformation of the defense through recruiting. Peyton Pierce is the kind of defensive player you want in the middle of your defense, roaming sideline to sideline, can get after it in the front seven, is exceptional in coverage as well. Real versatile middle linebacker.
Yeah, and that one is trending heavily in Ohio State's favor. We'll see if something happens here soon with Peyton Pierce and the Buckeyes. Another one to watch is 4-star edge Booker Pickett. He'll be at Ohio State at the end of this week. He's the number 6th ranked edge in the country, comes out of the Tampa area. He goes 6'4", about 205, and he actually reminds me a little bit of former Buckeye Ryan Shazier that Ohio State also pulled out of the state of Florida. Now, Miami currently is ahead on the RPM here, 37%, but Ohio State sits at 22%. And this is before this weekend's upcoming visit, which will be Booker Pickett's first trip to Columbus. So I think right now, if you're an Ohio State fan, and you're wondering where all the defensive commits are, they're coming. And there's a lot of talent on that defensive board that is trending heavily in Ohio State's favor. So, like I said, they currently sit third, but Ohio State is putting pressure on Georgia and Alabama, rising in the recruiting rankings. Sam, thanks for joining the Inside Scoop. We'll continue to watch Ohio State recruiting as they trudge on.
Thank you for watching. Make sure you smash that subscribe button for me. And remember to check out all the videos on the On3 YouTube page.